Welcome. In this session, we're going to talk about telemarket cards or telemarket leads. Telemarket leads are a lead type that you can order from a lead source, a telemarket vendor. And telemarket leads are leads that the individual has been contacted by someone who gave them an elevator pitch, or they responded to some kind of pop-up ad or some other type of marketing, and they're being pre-qualified before you get the lead. Now, generally, that telemarket lead is a card that's generated by a professional telemarketer. They typically work for an outside vendor that's contracted to provide that lead, either an outside vendor that you contract with or your company contracts with. And typically, the person that you're approaching has a telephone conversation with that telemarketer. They've indicated that they have some type of interest or question in a particular product or service that the telemarketer is calling for. They may have some particular knockout questions that either you or your company wants them to ask. They may even have test questions to make sure they're the right person when you call, like what's their favorite color. But that's typically how you come across these telemarket leads. A few things you should be aware of is I hear from salespeople all the time, they call a telemarket lead and people say, well, no, I never requested any information. And what happens is it's the spouse that requested the information. So you want to make sure when you're calling the telemarket lead that you speak with the person that actually talked to the telemarketer or requested the information. Just because the person you're talking to says that nobody talked to them doesn't mean that the telemarket lead's not a valid lead or a good lead. It may mean that you're just talking to the wrong person. Keep in mind that the purpose of the telemarket lead is to schedule the appointment. The reason you have a telemarketer do that for you is to add third-party credibility, to streamline your prospecting process so that you rule people out. When you're talking to them, you want to rule them in. You don't want to rule them out. So don't repeat the same information the telemarketer already did. If the telemarketer gave you the lead because people want to have someone call, and you call to set the appointment, don't requalify them. Don't go down through the same information that the telemarketer went through. Make sure that you nail the appointment down and then ask any pre-qualifying questions you have. So many times I see salespeople ask pre-qualifying questions first. And the only reason to ask pre-qualifying questions is to rule someone out, not rule them in. Schedule the appointment, then ask your pre-qualifying questions. That also helps you set up the close. In our closing training, we always say the close begins with the very first contact, and this is your very first contact. Keep in mind that telemarketer leads come to you typically in either an email or on a card. You want to arrange your telemarket leads by zip code and routing number. The zip code is the city that they live in, and the routing number is the neighborhood in that city. You want to make sure that you have a map available either on the screen or some kind of map so that you can see where they're at. You want to have a calendar so you can book all your appointments in the same zip code and routing number on the same day. That's called winning the community. That's the most efficient way to work. That makes you feel like your time is more valuable. It gives you the opportunity to do the walk and talk and prospect in the neighborhood on the days that you've got appointments. And by having a calendar, you get to get your entire week full before you quit making phone calls. The reason you want to have your entire week full is because you realize the value of time, yours and the prospect's time, and you don't want to go out in the field for just one or two appointments. You want to make sure you've got an entire day. The only way you're going to build a six-figure income and a seven-figure business is to operate your business as a successful business, no matter what level of business you're currently at. And you want to have a script that is specific to the telemarket lead that you're calling on. You want to have that script available to you. You want to have it memorized so it's an integrated part of your sales personality. You want to know what the 4 basic objections are. You can get that in our objection training. And you want to make sure that you have your rebuttals ready so that when the prospect gives you the rebuttals that you already know you're going to get, you either have that rebuttal built into the sales script or your appointment script, or you already know what you're going to say. The worst thing you can do is to stall because you're trying to think of what to say. So, for example, I might say, hello, may I speak with John? John, thank you. John, my name is Lloyd Lofton, and I'm with ABC Company. And recently, John, you requested information on name the product or service. And the reason I'm calling is just to let you know that I'm going to be in your area this week. And John, I can see you on, and you state the day and time. Will you be in then? Then is a transition word. That's why it's got highlighted there. Will you be in then? And the reason we use this script is because the point of this phone call isn't to pre-qualify them, it's to schedule the appointment. You get the appointment first, and then you do any pre-qualifying you need to do. You notice in this phone call that we've used John's name at least 5 times. There's 2 things that people like. They like to have their opinion asked, and they like to hear their name. Keep in mind that the purpose of the call, when the telemarketer called them, was to set an appointment, to rule people in, not rule them out. Don't damage the work your telemarketer's already done that you already paid them to do by asking pre-qualifying questions to rule them out. Get the appointment set first. Appointments help move you into activity. Regardless of how good of an appointment you think it is, make the appointment. You need the activity more than you need to sell. Activities drive sales. The more activity you have, the more presentations you make. The more presentations you make, the more closes you have. The more closes you have, the more money you make. Go back to the business planning training and make sure that you've got a good business plan. And unless you can get in front of the prospects, the truth is you don't have a chance of making a sale, do you? Doesn't matter what your product or service is. So keep in mind that the telemarket lead is simply inventory for your business. If you don't have inventory, you've got no chance of making money. So activity provides presentation practice opportunities, and it builds your confidence. Don't try and get the best appointment. Don't try and get only the ones that are going to buy. You have no idea what people are going to do when you get to their business or to their home. Remember, people buy on emotion, they're moved to action by logic, and people do not catch logic, they catch enthusiasm. Appointments, along with other prospecting activities, such as walk and talk referrals, is what an activity plan is. So if you don't have an activity plan put together, go back to the business plan training and figure out what the activity planning is. Get your activity planning down, get your lead source, your lead type, and then make your calls. You can click here for more trainings. You can click here to book your next training or to get pricing on any training that we have. You can click here for articles or to see other videos. And if you have a specific question you want to ask, you can call 865-776-7632.